Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, where, oh, there you go, you finally see iRacing. Took a little bit for it to pop in. Not sure why it decided to be a little bit behind the times here tonight, but nonetheless, I am Peter Short, and alongside me is Andre Grandbush from the beautiful Darlington Speedway. Andre, this racetrack was the first ever super speedway. Before there was Daytona, before there was Talladega, there was Darlington, and we are racing there here again tonight.
Yeah, very historic location and one of the most difficult tracks I think these guys are going to face on this circuit. Obviously asymmetrical, a little bit different at one end than the other. Relatively small field, so that may kind of lessen the challenge when you have less traffic to navigate. But so far we're showing 10 on timing and scoring, although I think you said 11 are registered. So we'll see how it goes. They're currently wrapping up practice, just trying to get a feel for the track. Again, this is a fixed setup league, so they're all working with the same equipment. It's just going to be a matter of learning the lines and figuring out how exactly to get around this track. And one of the things I love about this track is you drive it almost counterintuitively. Like, the way you drive this track is not how you would think. When you get into this corner, you go so deep with these trucks before you let off the throttle. And you're so tempted to lift. You see how tight those corners are. You see the wall creeping up on you because you got to run so close to it. And you want to lift, but if you want to get around here fast, you got to drive it in deep. And you got to get back on that throttle as early as you can. Try to kind of diamond the corner, drive it down that banking out of the turn, and use up every inch that pavement's going to give you. But we're going to go on board. Let's see exactly what the line is from Tristan Maher.
Yeah, you were just talking about it there, Andre, so I figured it's best that we get it firsthand from the driver of the number 17 Eclipse Photography Ford F-150 down to the bum side of the racetrack through turn number 3 and 4. Then you jump it up the hill, right up close to that striped wall that you see there on the right-hand side of your screen. Then in turn number 1 and 2, like you said, all the way down, and you let the truck wash up to the top side of the racetrack, and this late apex coming down the backstretch is so important to get right. I'm sure we'll see a couple of drivers get that wrong here tonight and end up in the turn 2 wall, the dreaded turn 2 wall here at Darlington. But Andre, we'll see some drivers use the low line in 3 and 4. We'll see some drivers use the high line in 3 and 4. And I'm sure as the tires wear, the line will continue to change a little bit as well. And of course, the sun continuing to set here is going to change the track conditions. As you can see right now, the track temperature sitting at a 86 degree mark there on the bottom right hand graphic. But Andre, practice wrapping up. Maher going to be the fastest of all.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. We've seen a lot of success out of the 17, and I believe Darlington is a track that kind of suits his driving style. He's kind of a technical driver. He's very, we'll say he has a lot of finesse with his throttle inputs and his steering inputs, and you need a little bit of that for a track like Darlington. But we're going to be going into qualifying, and we're going to see if he can match that pace here and stay on top of the pylon. And he's not going to waste any time. He's gridding up pretty much immediately. We've already got a ton of overcast. Track is already cool. There's no need to sit around and wait for a cloud. So we're just going to get out on track. A few more drivers also rolling out of their pit stalls. There's the number 64 machine. And he is going to ride that apron all the way to the backstretch. Vinny Valvano in a new paint scheme. Usually I think Vinny, blue paint schemes, but now he's got red and white car. Looks like that might be a throwback.
Well, no, that is his new sponsor, Talkin' Giants, on that number 64. We'll see Talkin' Giants all season long, talking about the New York Giants. And if you're like me and you're a Cowboys fan, or maybe you're an Eagles fan even, if Jimbo is listening on in, you might not listen to be Talkin' Giants, but hey, if you're a New York Giants fan, Talkin' Giants is a great place to listen to, as I don't know, there are probably a few Giants fans in the chat. I know Garrett Gleason is usually one of those. He's one of the G-men, is G. Gleason, but Adam Dama right now out there on the racetrack might be the first driver to get a lap time in. We'll see whether or not that is true. He comes to the line right now, and the number 28 machine is going to jump to second on the board. Jason Gracias, good to see the number 1 machine back in the field here tonight. And, you know, Andre, this is usually a racetrack where you see throwback schemes, so it's a little bit of a throwback to have Jason Gracias, former series champion here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. But Jason out there wheeling the Backcraft Toyota here tonight, and currently sits third on the board, but it is the Simbox number 77 of Doug Neal that is fastest of all as he comes down to the start-finish line right now. There he is, Doug Neal.
It looks like his second lap is not going to be an improvement, but the 29.5 from his first lap is going to be more than enough, as he currently has 2/10 over Gracias, who did improve with his second lap, but just didn't quite improve enough. Justin White currently sitting on the bottom step of the podium there in third. He's about 3/10 back. I don't know what Doug Neal did, man, but look at that. Tristan Maher tied for the pole, but he's going to miss out by just that much. He's currently sitting second. Let's even get that extra thousandth of a second that he needs. Or no, that was his second lap, I believe. So he's going to bring it down the back straightaway, and he's going to have to settle for second. That is to say, if Fred Lester does not dethrone him, and it looks like he will not, he's going to move himself up to fourth. Here comes Jimbo Casterline, currently sitting at P8. I believe he's got another lap to run, though, so he can try to improve on that, and a little bit squirrely out of turn 2, and that's going to happen to a lot of drivers tonight. That car is going to get looser and looser. Philip Scott in an all-white 99. He is going to be working his way down the straightaway, trying to get his first lap in the books. That's going to throw me off, Peter. I'm so used to seeing Philip Scott in that World Ninja League car, the blue 99. Now it's a white 99. But he's going to come to the stripe for his first lap time. What is he going to post? Looks like it's going to be third place.
Yeah, just 2/100ths of a second. And I think, just running down the list of drivers, that we only really have 2 throwback schemes here tonight. And the number 99 of Philip Scott is one of those. Philip, of course, he was a big fan of the other ninja, the ninja of NASCAR. There, Andre, the only driver that would do a backflip after winning a race, Carl Edwards. And, of course, Carl Edwards cut his teeth in the number 99 in the Truck Series. And I think that was before they threw Superchip on the number 99 machine, which always was a bit surprising to me that they never just started with that, because I think Superchip is one of the Roush-owned companies. But for a while there, the number 99 was all white, and Carl Edwards cut his teeth and eventually made his way up into the NASCAR Cup Series, and kind of faded off the radar a little bit in recent years after his retirement from the Cup Series. But nonetheless, Carl, a very, very good driver. And of course, Jason Shu here, sporting a scheme that is very reminiscent of another very good driver. I think, Andre, if I was to call that one, I think that's kind of reminiscent of Dale Earnhardt's Atlanta car that he ran back in the day for the Atlanta Olympics. I don't see any Olympic rings on that. I don't recall Dale Jr. ever running that scheme. He does, of course, have Budweiser on the hood, but I think that's a nod to the Atlanta car, the Atlanta Olympics car that Dale Earnhardt ran once upon a time.
You know, it might be, but I swear that might actually be a junior scheme. I can't remember when he ran it, but I remember a red, white, and blue car that Junior ran. It was a Budweiser scheme, kind of similar to that. I could be wrong, but we'll have to maybe do some research on that on the back end later on. But definitely a throwback to something, either Dale Sr. or Dale Jr. Good-looking truck, that's for certain. Qualifying is complete, and now the drivers are going to be gridding up on the front straightaway behind our pace truck, and we do have the official starting grid. Doug Neal on the pole in that 77 with a 29.555, and missing it by 1,000th. Tristan Maher, 17. Well, he's in second. Philip Scott is going to be in that 99 machine in third, next to Jason Gracias, coming back for a race here at Darlington. Starting row 2, not too bad. Fred Lester in fifth. Justin White going to be P6. Vinny Valvano is going to be 7th, next to Jason Shu. Adam Dama P9. Jimbo Casterline is 10th. And Jeff Price, should he grid, is going to round out our field there in 11th.
Yeah, a little bit of a small field here tonight, but that should mean we will get some good green flag action. And, you know, Andre, one of the great things about streaming here on 3Wide TV is the fact that we actually can go to the chat and ask the chat on whether or not we are right, wrong, or whether or not there was a junior scheme like that. I don't know. We'll figure out. Here is tonight's race info for everyone here. 1.31 miles in length. Ambient temperature 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, it is in Darlington, South Carolina. We're throwing it back here tonight with a few throwback schemes. It's a bit of a shame not to see more boat throwback schemes, but I understand it. The time, Andre, that goes into putting together some of these schemes is mighty intense. And unless you're the number 99 Philip Scott, who just kind of put together a white race truck with red numbers, it can be really time intensive. And if you don't have that time in your week, well, you might just pass up on having a throwback scheme. But nonetheless, it's going to be a lot of fun here for all 191 miles.
Yep, should be a good time. Darlington never fails to put on a bit of a show. And so we're going to see what these guys can do, small field. But like you said, that just means there should be a lot of green flag racing. And these guys, when they get those long green flag runs, that seems to be where these guys in this league thrive. That's when they're at their best. They're always competing, and it seems like the separation is never too drastic. The laps go on, and these guys just stay on each other's tails. So let's hope for a little bit of that tonight here under the sunset at Darlington. But Doug Neal on the pole. I can't remember if this is his second or third pole of the year. I believe he already has at least one. But there goes the pace truck down into pit lane, and they're going to put the field in the hands of the 77. Green flag going up into the air. And as they get to the restart zone, Doug Neal's going to get on that loud pedal, and the race is officially underway. Maher on the outside actually getting a really good start as there's some smoke flying in the back of the field. The number 3, I believe, got into the outside wall. I'm not sure what the cause of that was, but either way, up front, Maher jumps to the lead. These guys are going to sort each other out single file. And, no!
Our pole sitter, Doug Neal, just had a huge moment coming out of turn number 2. Let's see if we can go back and get a 3-wide TV replay of what just happened to tonight's pole sitter. Did he just get loose coming up out of the corner, or what? I mean, let's see. We talked about Maher there. Bear with me, folks. Sorry about that. And it hit the wrong button. As here we go. Here's a 3-wide TV replay, and just got loose, and one heck of a save, Andre.
Yeah, he did a really good job keeping it off the inside wall. He came real close. I can't believe he got that thing straightened out the way he did. So he's going to live to fight another day. We'll see if he can make a bit of a recoup there. But another truck getting loose. Vinny Valvano out of turn 4. He's going to get sideways. And so whatever setup these guys were given, it seems to be pretty loose on these cold tires. But I think that's the key word there is cold tires, Peter. It's going to take these tires a few laps to come in to temp, and then I think the grip should go up, and these guys shouldn't be struggling as much. But in the meantime, one driver who was not fazed by those tires, well, that's Tristan Maher. He's out to 0.6 seconds now, just 3 laps into this 140-lap event. Jason Gracias also picking up a couple positions. He's in second now, and Philip Scott is going to be P3. Justin White in 4th, and all these drivers single file at the moment. Pretty close battle for second, I would say. The leader really starting to pull away, but a gaggle of cars currently battling for 4th on back. So we'll have to see how it shakes out as the tires start to wear, but there is that number 1 Gracias. I remember, oh no, Jimbo. You can't park there, buddy.
Yeah, something's happened to the number 18 machine, the Stay Tuned Sports Ford F-150. Let's see what happened here. This is a tricky racetrack. We talked about the turn 2 wall, just got too high up out of the groove, wasn't able to cut it back underneath, and that's a heavy hit, and somehow we stay green flag in all of this madness. Can you believe that? Let's see if we can get another look of what happened here to Jimbo on another look on the 3-wide TV replay from a slightly different camera angle. Just a little bit too high. You see the drivers in front of him running a little bit lower on the racetrack. That wall comes at you fast, and, well, so I'll tell you what, the inside wall came at him fast as well. Tough break for Jimbo. That looks to be night done for the number 18 machine as we're back to live scenes. That did not bring out a caution because he was able to get off the track fast enough, Andre, that we continue to race here as we got a battle brewing now for second.
Yeah, he was kind of off in his own little world, so I'm not really surprised that came out as a green flag, but the battle for second is now heating up, like you said. Philip Scott going to dive down to the bottom, try to make that pass down on the apron, slide job in front of Jason Gracias, and he's going to get clear into second. The question now is, what is Gracias going to do in response? Is he going to drive it in a little bit deeper, maybe try to get to that bumper, or is he just going to have to settle into third? I think the big tell here in pace is going to be 3 and 4, the tighter of the sets of turns. And Gracias is not letting him get away. You see he closed in just a little bit through 3 and 4. But 1 and 2 is where Philip Scott's got a lot of speed. He's able to get through that corner really successfully. diving it down to that dashed white line and then going right back up to that outside wall. And you can see he just extends that gap in 1, and then it tightens back up in 2. So, and you see that at Darlington. It seems like everybody seems to be, oh no, a little bit of an issue there for the 48, Fred Lester. So he's going to concede a position to Valvano. That puts Valvano in the top 5. But as I was saying, you're going to see some drivers that are just better at one end and drivers that are better at the other. And so you see this kind of yo-yo effect where drivers get together and fall apart. But more smoke goes up. I believe that was Gracias getting into the wall.
Yeah, we're seeing both ends of this racetrack be a little bit tricky.
Now
Philip Scott, yeah, way out of the groove, just like what happened to Jimbo a couple of laps ago, just pushed up the racetrack. Andre, these race trucks seem like they went from really loose to all of a sudden really tight. We saw Fred Lester get into the wall. We've seen Jimbo get into the wall. And I think, whoa, Jason Gracias there getting into the wall. So all of a sudden, the handling characteristics of these race trucks have drastically changed as Maher out front is holding on to now a 2.6 second lead, or 2 second lead rather, over Jason Gracias. He's just got to keep it nice and clean out front. He's got no pressure on back. We will have a stage caution here, I believe, on lap number 40. So we'll keep that in the back of our head, that we'll get to lap number 40 and throw a caution flag. Just double checking my notes. Actually, no, I take that back. It's lap number 20 here tonight. So we are halfway into tonight's one and only stage here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, the Darlington Throwback 191, and good battle here forming as Jeff Price is caught up to Fred Lester, and looks like Lester's woes continue as the 14 able to slip on by.
Yeah, the 14 made short work of him there going into the corner and got himself out to about a 2-car length lead pretty much immediately. You mentioned how the cars looked like they were getting really tight. I gotta wonder, Peter, if the amount of sliding these guys were doing when the tires were cold didn't kind of put a heat cycle through these tires, where the tires were cold, they were sliding around a bunch, and then once they warmed up, the car just got super tight, super ill handling because of the sliding, and that might be why Maher is so fast right now. He didn't do any sliding. He wasn't getting loose out of the corners like we're seeing Jason Gracias do right there. He was pretty much smooth on the steering wheel, no slip sliding around, and his truck looks to be handling the best out of anybody's right now. So I think maybe keeping it calm and taking it easy on cold tires might be the ticket to tonight. But tell you what, Jeff Price is just Jason Gracias is fighting that truck out there. You see he's getting loose every corner into the wall now, so the 99 of Philip Scott going to try to get to the quarter panel of that truck, pull up alongside the bed, see if he can't make the move. Is a little bit of indecision from Justin White. He went low, back up high, then low again, and now he's going to fall in line as the 99 makes the move, and it's a crossover from Jason Gracias down low, but it's an unsuccessful crossover as he's going to give up another position. Look at that run, Peter.
Yeah, it looked like Justin White was shot out of a cannon down the backstretch. Not sure if Gracias there just got tight off of turn number 2, had to back off the throttle. We were riding on board with all of a sudden Justin White mowing him down. Justin started in 6th, up to 3rd now, so good start out of the Simbox Motorsports number 2. Great to have Justin White back in the field here tonight. He's missed a couple of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series races over the last month or so. So good to see Justin sticking around here and currently riding things out in the 3rd position, trying to pick up some good points here as we move towards the stage break in about 5 laps from now. If you're wondering who's going to win the stage, well, it's going to have to take a pretty big mistake from the number 17 of Tristan Maher up at the front of the field, as he has absolutely checked out. This is the best battle on the racetrack right now for 2nd. If you are keeping your eyes on the lap or the time differences on the left-hand side of your screen, this is the closest one. Vincent Valvano, Doug Neal, Jeff Price, all kind of tagging on with one another within a full second of each other. At least, maybe not within each other, but from one to the other, I should say. But looks like the number 2 machine, he's here to play, Andre, as White has run down Scott over the last 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, he's reeled him in quite a bit. It seems like the long run pace on that number 2 is pretty exceptional. The way he got around the number 1, who you still, by the way, at the top of the frame, you see him getting loose even still, so he's still struggling. But Justin White just seems to be really honed in right now on his line. He's running super well as Philip Scott makes a little bit of a bobble. It opens up the door. And so the number 2 is going to go to P2, 4.1 seconds back from our leader. So he may be getting himself some good stage points. And you said he hasn't been racing too much over the last month. Can relate. I've been kind of out of the booth for a little while. It was a very busy month of April. But I'm glad to be back. Glad to see Justin back in the field. And hopefully the rest of the season goes off without a hitch for the drivers and commentators alike. But the 99, not letting the 2 get away too far. I think the key here is just going to be who makes the mistakes. And so far, I've not seen too many out of that number 2.
And here's a driver who has made a couple of mistakes. That is Jason Gracias, the Backcraft number 1 Toyota. Has slid back now to 6th, getting passed by Vincent Valvano and our pole sitter, Doug Neal. Neal trying to make a recovery as the number 1 has another big wiggle back there. Andre, I think that no one wants to be on pit road more than Jason Gracias does right now. As we have reached lap number 20, we expect to see a caution flag in 1 lap from right now, which will signify the end of the one and only stage that we have. Points do get awarded at the stage, however, and so this battle here is for a couple of points. Vincent Valvano trying to take 4th position, and Neal's going to slide underneath him, Andre. That's a difficult spot to put Valvano in. Valvano had to back out, and Neal's going to slip on by right before we see that stage caution, so give Doug Neal an extra bonus point for that move.
Yeah, Doug said somebody's going to have to lift, and it ain't going to be me. So kind of put the 64 in a very precarious situation, and Valvano thought better of it. He's thinking of the long game here. He doesn't want to throw it away for some potential stage points when, you're still around at the end. You got a chance to win the whole thing. So there's Adam Dama coming across the stripe. I believe the stage caution should be coming out as soon as the top 10 is crossed, and there it is. So Adam Dama going to be the last driver to grab himself some stage points there in 10th. Castellan, of course, currently in the pits after his incident. So, it's not very often, Peter, that you see everybody on track getting stage points.
Yeah, everyone on track does pick up stage points. This racetrack is a little bit of a gauntlet, and I'm just kind of looking around the racetrack to drivers who have clean race trucks. Just going to have to zoom in there. Let's look at the number 3. Looks like maybe a little bit of right front damage on Jason Shue's machine. Nothing bad. Fred Lester in the number 48. It's like he's about to come down pit road. You can see that right front crinkled in just a little bit. Jeff Price, it looks like he's got a clean race truck. Gracias, we know he's been in the wall. Valvano looks like he has a clean race truck. Doug Neal with that amazing save on lap number 1. He's going to have to watch out for that again on this upcoming restart. Philip Scott has right side damage. Justin White looks like he has a clean race truck. And Tristan Maher, clean race truck as well. So about 50-50 right now, Andre, for drivers with damage and without damage. And we're only 20 laps into this gauntlet.
Yeah, a lot of drivers are going to be spending some extra time in their pit stall to get that damage fixed. I do want to point out, while these drivers are in pit road, so my usually terrible memory was actually correct. That throwback is to Dale Jr. It was the 2007 Pepsi 400, back when Daytona still had the 4th of July race. Dale Jr. had the Stars and Stripes Budweiser car. I believe that was his last or second to last year with the number 8 before he went to Hendrick. So kind of an interesting thing there. But everybody working their way out of their stall. Maher easily able to win that race off pit road, but Justin White maintaining second place. Doug Neal currently sitting 3rd, though, Peter. So after that very early mistake, he's kind of making up ground.
Yeah, well, that's because we had some long pit stops for a couple drivers trying to fix some damage, that being one of them right there. Philip Scott gave up his 3rd position to have a 20 or so second repair. Jason Gracias had about a 24-25 second repair on the number 1 machine, maybe a smidgen longer than that even. Fred Lester also trying to race the truck. No, not the UPS truck, but race the pace truck off of pit road to stay on the lead lap. Looks like he is just going to do so, as you see the pace truck right now working its way out of turn number 2. There is the iRacing.com pace truck, and everyone there on your screen on the lead lap. So no lucky dogs awarded under caution flag number 1 here tonight. Jimbo Casterline, we'll see whether or not he works his way back out onto the racetrack at some point. But we do have Alicia Casterline in the chat saying that his engine was blown and he meleeed the wall. And
He didn't just melee the wall, Peter. It is not often you see a man hit the outside wall, the inside wall, and then the outside wall again in a single incident. He pulverized the inside wall.
Yeah, that second hit, when he hit the inside wall, it looked like it knocked the snot out of that truck. I mean, it was toast after that. He said 37 minute repairs in the chat. Thanks for joining on in, Jimbo. And of course, Stay Tuned Sports. If you have not listened to Stay Tuned Sports, make sure you do so. And Jimbo, let us know in the chat how them Phillies are doing. Let us know if those Phillies are playing good baseball this year. And of course, it's kind of off-season. Well, I think the 76ers are doing pretty good. I don't know. I don't follow the NBA. I think that the Flyers are out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But nonetheless, Jimbo, let us know how Philadelphia is doing. And if you want to know, a little bit more about how Philadelphia sports are doing, well, you got Stay Tuned Sports. Alicia's saying that he's an Orioles fan. Hey, I have no problem with that. Both Camden Yards is a pretty cool baseball field. I would think that, it'd be a place I'd like to go one day because Camden Yards is pretty cool. Of course, home of the Baltimore Orioles. As the green flag is going to work its way back out 10 cars, although Adam Dama has fallen one lap down. Not sure what the story is there. I don't even see him with the field as we go back green, but Tristan Meyer with a big jump. Once again, Andre out front in the Eclipse Photography number 17.
Yeah, he's got these restarts locked down. He was able to do it on the first restart, or the first initial start, and he does it on the first restart here. So 17 very quick on the jump as the number 1's going to slot in right behind the 99, apply a little bit of pressure, press X to intimidate, trying to get that 99 to overdrive, but Philip Scott keeps his cool. He gets through the corner fairly well, and that's going to keep the number 1 at bay at least for another set of turns until he regroups and tries it again. And ahead of these two, well, there's a near identical battle between Jeff Price and Doug Neal, those two trying to go head-to-head for that final spot on the podium. And that number 2 finally in second place with the number 17 in sight. He's not 4 seconds out right now. He is only 0.2 of a second. So we'll see what Justin White can do now that he doesn't have to race his way through a bunch of traffic and burn up his tires doing so. Can he kind of hold with that 17 on equal footing? We'll find out. And here goes Philip Scott for another pass. He's going to try to get to the low side of the 14. He's got the number 1 in tow, but unfortunately that pass is not going to go anywhere for him, and that's actually going to hold up Jason Gracias. So add that to the basket of misfortunes that Gracias has had to endure tonight at Darlington, and the night's still young, so hopefully things turn around for that number 1. Single file through 3 and 4, and finally I think these guys are going to give each other just a wee bit of breathing room. Yeah,
everyone getting single file. They realize that we still have over 100 laps to go, make that 112 laps to go to be exact. Adam Dama is heading back out there onto the racetrack, and Andre, not sure if he had connection issues or something else happened to Adam Dama, but a kind of on and off pit road a couple of times, finds himself 3 laps down, so going to need a couple of lucky dogs to get the Afraid Not Threads Ford F-150 back into the mix here tonight as he works his way through turn number 3 and 4. There is your race leader working his way out of turn number 2. Already starting to get a little bit of a gap. I almost said a little bit of a wiggle because there was a pretty big wiggle back there in the pack as Jason Gracias dancing on the wheel is probably the best way to put the Bagcraft number 1 machine. Let's get this 3-wide TV replay. Andre, that's a whale of a save.
Yeah, once again, that's 2 good saves on the night, and we're only about 30 laps in, so fine piece of driving there as we go on board for the big moment there. A little bit left, a little bit right, but ultimately he's going to straighten that bad boy out and keep it going in the right direction, which is exactly what you need to do here at Darlington. Otherwise, you're going to be among the many drivers with a Darlington stripe so far tonight. Still a little bit side by side. Valvano dives low, and Jeff Price is going to get into the outside wall. So neither driver having a very successful turn 4, but either way, Valvano comes out with the better end of the situation, taking that position from the 14. Now he's got a little ways up the road to that number 1, but man, oh man, Peter, that number 1, I swear, he is loose out of every corner, and he's been doing it all race long. How long can he tempt fate like that?
Yeah, let's see what happens here. Coming out turn number 4. That's the fate. It didn't take very long, did it, Andre?
That long. That's how long you can tempt fate.
I think you called it, and I don't think you could have called it any better because you nailed it the very next corner. Tough break for former series champion Jason Gracias. I think Jason trying to get back into the mix. I know this is one of Jason's favorite racetracks. I know he will be absolutely bummed to be out this early at Darlington, but was able to get off the racetrack, Andre. We stay green flag, and probably the entire field is thankful for that, except for Adam Dama, who it continues to be 3 laps down in the number 28 machine. Wants someone to get one of those lucky dogs, but up at the front of the field, Maher opening up a little bit of a gap. Not sure why it's saying he's on pit road there on the left-hand side of the screen, but it is. Folks, live timing and scoring. Don't you love it?
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. We could have Monster Energy Supercross's timing and scoring, which is, I think, never accurate. I'm not even sure why it's on the screen. So, it'll kind of flip-flop around on the broadcast here, but it'll correct itself eventually, and that's what matters. So, you'll know sooner or later where everybody runs. And Maher kind of doing exactly what he was trying to do in the first stage there, still pulling away, still seems to be the fastest car on the track, but Justin White is no slouch here. He's only about a second back, which I think at this same point, we're about 15 laps into this run. 15 laps into the last run, Maher had a 4-second lead, and White's only let him get out about 1.2 seconds. So some decent speed under the hood of the number 2, and I think if he were to just find a little bit more, maybe adjust his line a little bit, maybe get himself into some clean air, he may have something for the pace of that 17. But the battle is going to be for third. Doug Neal, Philip Scott, these two trucks trying to determine who's going to take this step on the podium, because Doug Neal has been scrapping for it all night long. Started on the pole, made that big mistake, dropped pretty much to the tail end of the field, raced his way back up to third, and now he's going to have to defend that position because Philip Scott is hungry. And we know that turns 1 and 2 are the better corners for Philip Scott, at least that I've noticed. Seems to be where he gains on people every single time. 3 and 4, where the 77 is going to be a little bit better. But very different lines here, Peter. You can see the 77 hugging that dashed line, and, well, Philip's not afraid of that outside safer barrier.
No, Philip is definitely not afraid of the safer barrier, and as you can see there by the updated graphic on the right-hand side of the screen, they're actually kind of closing in on Justin White just a little bit as well. So these two starting to move forward. Of course, we know Doug Neal has the single lap pace, as he was our pole sitter here tonight, and then almost looped it coming out of turn number 2 on lap number 1. Great save, dropped him back to the back of the field, and he's been slowly but surely marching his way forward, finishing 4th in the first stage here tonight, now running in 3rd. Philip Scott behind him, finished 3rd in that last stage, but had an extended stay on pit road to get a little bit extra damage repaired. Jason Grossi is probably wishing he'd stayed to fix all his damage. Maybe he did, not sure. But a tough break for the number 1 machinist. Ooh, a little bit of smoke coming from the right-hand side of that number 99, grazing the wall. You said it, Andre. He's not afraid of the outside wall, and might have just flirted with it there just a little bit.
Yeah, he's done that a few times tonight, and luckily he had that pit stop to get some of that damage fixed, but, well, now the damage is back, so hopefully it doesn't hold him back too much aerodynamically, and hopefully he doesn't bend anything. I know iRacing tends to have sort of an accumulative damage model, so if you keep knocking the wall down, that damage is going to add up over time, little by little, and eventually something's going to bend. There's going to be a weak point on a joint or a bearing or an axle, or something is going to go wrong, and when that happens, that truck is going to be borderline undrivable, especially at a one-line track like Darlington where you're so close to the wall. So got to be careful, got to think about the long game here. Obviously, you want to drive hard, and like I said, the line here is to drive hard. You want to go into the corner as deep as you possibly can, but at the same time, you got to make sure the truck's still underneath you when you get to lap 140. So a little bit of strategy game, I guess, when it comes to how much you want to push, how much you want to conserve. Not so much for tires, but just because this track is so difficult. As Philip Scott, we go on board, you can see just right up against that outside wall. And, you know, a while back, Peter, iRacing introduced a little bit of an air bubble to the outside wall, and they said, yeah, you know, the car is going to be repelled from the outside wall just a little bit like it would in real life. And I don't know. I never felt that air bubble. I never really thought it did a whole lot. and I think these guys hitting the wall so much is a testament to that.
Yeah, I remember when that got added, and I myself went out there and tried to fiddle around with it. I think it's there, but it's nothing major. It's nothing significant to get a little bit of cushion up there. And so very, very easy to jump up just a little bit too much and run into the outside wall, as we've seen a couple of times here tonight. Well, you're looking at your top four right now from the roof cam of the number 99 of Philip Scott. That little black dot, 3 trucks in front of him. That is your race leader, Tristan Thuggy Meyer. You're not missing anything there. Up to 2.25 seconds here as we're working lap number 44. We're still looking at the best battle on the racetrack. Everyone else on the racetrack between these three really have about a second between one another. So really no battles for position throughout the field but this one. So we're going to keep our eyes focused on that. And up at the top of the screen, we'll kind of put it so you can see last lap time. Fastest on the racetrack last lap was our race leader, Tristan Thuggy Maher, 30.87, about 0.4 of a second faster than Justin White. Doug Neal, Philip Scott running in the low 31s, 31.2 to 31.07, as Philip was able to pull about 1/10 of a second that last time by on Doug Neal. We'll see what it is when they go across the stripe this time. But Tristan Maher out front with that clean air continues to march away again, about 2.5 faster. That last time is, look at this, going around the outside. Philip Scott trying to get gutsy. That's not going to work. Heavy contact with the wall.
Oh, gutsy indeed. You know, the track, it's wide enough for 2 trucks and only 2 trucks. Problem is gravity and G-forces. You come out of these corners, the truck's naturally going to want to swing wide there. And when you got 2 cars trying to head for the same real estate, well, one of them is going to get squeezed into that outside wall. And unfortunately for Philip Scott, it was the 99 car. So you can see some significant damage on the right front. The hood panel and the hood clip is kind of bent out of position. That's usually not a good sign. We'll take a look at the 3-wide TV replay. We got a pretty good angle of it, but it never hurt to take a second look at a bold move like this. You can see he was trying to be respectful, you know, trying to give the 77 room. The 77 was also trying to be respectful to Philip. I mean, he ran about as low as he could run without clipping the apron. But again, you know, you come out of the corner and you're going to see the 77 start to move up high, and the 99 also just getting swung out into the wall, and bits and pieces of the car all over the track. If this was real life NASCAR, I'm sure that'd be we'll call it a debris caution. From the helicopter cam, just a tight squeeze.
Yeah, just a tight squeeze. We've talked about that wall a couple times here tonight, and unfortunately it has wrecked the number 99 machine's pace. He was faster than Doug Neal. Well, now he's about a 0.5 second slower per lap than the number 77. That right side contact with the wall is pretty big. And folks, here at this racetrack, these drivers are fast. This is a fast racetrack. It's only 1.3 miles in length, but it is pretty quick. Let's see if we can bring up the dashboard here. You need a lot of downforce at this racetrack, Andre. Look at this. When you dive off into turn number 1, you're 160 miles an hour. You slow down a little bit. You're kind of getting back on the throttle, about 150. You're carrying 150 miles an hour through this corner. You need all the aerodynamics you can get for grip coming out of turn number 2. Then down the backstretch, 170 miles an hour before you get on the binders and slow it down to about 130 135 through turns number 3 and 4, still pretty quick. They whipped their way around this 1.3 mile racetrack, so damage, it hurts here.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I'm glad you made that point about going on board and keeping track of the speed. There's a reason that this was the original super speedway. They are carrying so much speed through these corners. For as tight of a radius as it is, as narrow of a track as it is, 150 through the corners is nothing less than exceptional, especially when you just think about the fact that in real life, you have a feel for the cars. You can kind of feel what it's doing underneath you. Here in Sim, you're just going off of tire squeal sounds and what you can see on your screen. So you're walking an incredibly thin line with minimal feedback. And so you want your car to be in tip-top shape. You want that damage to be at a minimum, as we take a look at some of the lap time comparisons there. But it's tough. It is really tough, and these guys, well, they've shown it. How many times they've gotten into the outside wall, how much attrition we've had for such a small field. Dama, Gracias, Casterline. If you had told me that a fourth of the field would be out of the race here on lap 53, I would call you crazy, but here we are.
Yeah, Adam Dama now joining us in the 3-Wide TV chat, saying that he just can't figure out this racetrack. It's definitely not the easiest one on the calendar, that's for sure, Adam, and hopefully you can sit back and enjoy a nice cold one with Corey Silva, who joins us in the chat as well. Corey, good to see you this evening on 3-Wide TV. Of course, broadcasts with you, Andre, for that 100% Cup Series that I had the opportunity to commentate for a couple of weeks back, and those races are long. I mean, 100% Cup Series for a reason, but we broadcast them here on Saturday night with Andre, Corey, and Carlos. And that's always a great time on Saturday nights. If you have a nice cold one beside you and you want to sit back and relax, join us here on 3-Wide TV.
Yeah, the 100% Cup Series is definitely a different beast. Doing 3.5, 4 hour races it's tough, but Corey and PTR TV and 3-Wide TV as well with Carlos, and of course you there a couple weeks ago, Peter. Everybody kind of steps up to the plate and they get it done, and I always find that really impressive because anybody who's willing to sit down and do that, in real life you've got commercial breaks, you've got a snack tray next to the commentators. They got all the luxuries they could possibly need. They've got a dozen people they can throw it off to down on pit road. Here in Pixel Car World, well, it's just us. It's just us for 4 hours, and one of us is pushing the buttons, and one of us is talking, and one of us is doing both, and it's a bit of a task, but it's always a good time, like you said. And this race here has been pretty entertaining itself, despite the small field. It has been a lot of things that I did not expect to see. I did not expect to see that incident from Doug Neal there on lap 2. Didn't expect him to race his way back up as quickly as he has. And speaking of Doug Neal and things that I didn't expect him to reel in Justin White. But that long run speed on that 77 is phenomenal because he is right there. You see those lap time differentials, 4/10 faster on lap 56 for Neal, and it was 2/10 the lap before that. He's flying.
Yeah, Doug Neal finding a little bit of pace here late in this run. And Andre, you have to think that we're probably only about 15 or so laps away from needing to make green flag pit stops. This is a very difficult pit road to get onto, but Doug Neal here coming on strong late in the run, maybe saving his tires just a little bit, but he's going to have to do a lot of work to run down Tristan Thuggy Maher up front, up to a 4.2 second lead this last time by. Had a couple of teammates here running together. The number 2, looks like number 2, maybe I miscalculated my number of laps here, Andre, to the pit stops, because it looks like right now that we got the number 2 of Justin White coming down pit road for making his first pit stop of the night. Looks like Jason Shue also in the number 3, the Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback scheme that we did confirm was a Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback scheme. Thank you, Andre. No, you mentioned that earlier, but couple of drivers on pit road, get some fresh tires on them, and maybe find a little bit extra pace. We'll see if that drags our race leader, Tristan Maher, down pit road. At least it doesn't yet, as the Eclipse Photography F-150 continues to lap around this 1.3 mile racetrack.
Yeah, he's going to keep on going. I'm not necessarily surprised to see Justin White kick off the pitting sequence. I know that just from a few races I've seen earlier in the season, Justin always seems to be either the guy that comes in way before everybody else or way after, but very rarely does he ever just kind of fall in line and do what the masses are doing. So he's going to have a bit of a different strategy. He is going to go one lap down according to timing and scoring. And meanwhile, Maher's going to stay out yet another lap. Doug Neal also staying out. Philip Scott, Vinny Valvano, Jeff Price, Fred Lester, all these guys. Jason Shue, 2 laps down. You mentioned him coming down pit road with Justin White. So really, only 2 have come down early on. I got to wonder, what's the play here?
I don't know what the play is, to be honest with you, Andre, but getting fresh tires here kind of can be the safe bet. You know, you get into the window to come down pit road as Doug Neal elects to come down. But if you get into that window, you put fresh tires on, you might just make less mistakes. And if you make less mistakes at Darlington, usually that results in good things. And so fresher tires, a little bit extra grip. Maybe you can stay off that wall a little bit more. I know that a couple of these drivers probably had wished that they had the opportunity to get fresh tires more often. But for right now, Tristan Thuggy Maher, he doesn't seem to care what the state of his tires are. Last time by, Tristan Thuggy Maher, for everyone's reference at home, ran a 31.77. That is just about 2 seconds slower than his fastest lap here tonight, which was a 29.85. So about 2 seconds of fall off, and it looks like finally he will dive onto pit road as we are just about 7 laps away from seeing the cross flags here at Darlington Raceway, and drops down onto the apron. And Andre, one of my favorite tidbits about this racetrack, and there are a couple that are unique to this racetrack, as Philip Scott stays out to take the race lead, is that when they first invented Darlington, they said, you know what? Everyone's going to race on the flat portion of the racetrack because that makes sense. That's the racing surface. And then, you know, if anyone has any problems or any issues, you know, they get to go up on the banking. And then everyone turned into race car drivers and said, you know what? The banking's the faster way around the racetrack. No one's going to race down there on the flat side of the track. That's just asinine. And so everyone just ran the banking. And I just find that oversight by the track designers to be quite comical because, you know, race car drivers.
It is massively amusing, and it is the reason that the track is so narrow. It was not meant to be raced up there. As big moment out of the number 3 and Justin White as well. So they're going to go 3 wide momentarily. Scary sight here at Darlington, but yeah, you know, that's why it's so narrow. Nobody was meant to be up there. Nobody was meant to be racing on the banking. But then that one guy figured, whoa, no, that was Maher on cold tires. That's what got him.
Maher on cold tires had dominated the race here tonight. Second caution flag flies and into the outside wall. We'll see if we can get a replay of that. In fact, that doesn't even come up on my events because it was just pretty much a 360. That's pretty wild. Good job there, Tristan. Well, let's see if we can go see what happened. But Andre, this is very reminiscent of what we have seen a couple of times here tonight on cold tires. Started off on lap number 1, but Maher tried to run the bottom side of the racetrack that we were just talking about.
Yeah, he tried to get down on that banking. He saw Vinny Valvano coming up real quick on older tires, and he thought that he could maybe make the pass rather than lifting and trying to stay behind him. And, you know, high risk, and that's what happens sometimes when you take those risks. And you can see he was completely down on the apron, and as soon as he got down there, you saw the car get unsettled, and then the slide really set in proper. What concerns me there is that hit was pretty much directly from nose to wall, so that could be radiator damage, that could be engine damage. There's not a whole lot visually, but when you hit the front end of the car, you don't have to have visual damage for that to really mess up your day. So we're going to go on board with Maher. You can see he's already sliding right there, and he just gives it a little bit of an overcorrection. Pulls a minor Gordon Smiley maneuver, and into the outside wall he goes, and gets it straightened out. And I don't know, Peter, do you think he lucked out right there? Do you think he doesn't have any damage? Because it sure didn't look like it, but that was a hit.
I don't know. I mean, he's going to have to come down onto pit road, although I think he's going to chance it here and stay out to take the wave around, because under this cycle, a couple of these drivers, you know, they hadn't pitted. Philip Scott, Fred Lester, Vincent Valvano had yet to come in and make their second pit stop. Jeff Price as well. So all those drivers are on the lead lap. I think Justin White here will be our lucky dog under this caution. So he'll get himself back on the lead lap and could be in the situation to be the driver in command. We'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out now that we have some drivers on older tires and some drivers just coming off pit road to throw another wrench in the works. But looks like Doug Neal and Maher. No, Maher's going to come down pit road right now. Whoa, that's a little bit more than onto pit road. And Andre, that wheel is completely cranked to the left. You see that? I wonder if that's some type of hardware failure that has just struck on Tristan Maher here, because he's just sitting stationary and not moving. If it wasn't one thing, Andre, it's another. Number 17 here, kind of catching us all off guard. Let's see what happened here. That's 100% a hardware failure. Just shot down there to the mob side of the racetrack. You'll not see a wheel turn that fast in real life. Let's go back and get another look at that one here in 3-wide TV slow-mo. Watch that left front wheel, folks. It's going good. It's going good. All good. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's cranked all the way. And I think Maher was able to get on the brakes to prevent some heavier collision with the inside wall. There's a little bit of issues there with his connection. But, and then he ends up kind of just bouncing it off the inside wall. So things going from bad to worse for the driver who have been doing so well here today. Let's jump back live to live scenes as the caution flag has been extended for an extra lap, but it looks like the field will be starting to double up. Looks like the 77 of Doug Neal will now be the only driver to take the wave around, and can confirm Tristan Maher, Andre, who dominated the opening half of this race, is now on pit road in the number 17. Bleeding time already now. 3 laps down, not in a lucky dog position. Tough break for the Eclipse Photography F-150.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if that caution wasn't extended just to try to give him some time to figure out whatever was going on with the wheel. Excuse me. To me, it looked like a bit of a disconnect, like it just came unplugged, and so iRacing kind of defaulted to steering it all the way left. And I don't know if he's just having to reset it, and maybe he'll get back out on track. But this could spell disaster if he can't get out there before too long, because he is going to give up a ton of laps as the pace truck is about to pull off. 48 of Fred Lester on the bottom. Philip Scott opting to start on the high side. And I believe the field is in the hands of that 99. A very short high line, only 2 trucks up there, everybody else down on the bottom. But they're in the Geico restart zone, and out and away goes the 99 with a solid start. Fred Lester not far behind in second place, but the number 3 just hemorrhaging track position. I don't know if that was by choice or maybe he has some damage from earlier, but heavily off the pace on this restart. And the 99, 0.6 seconds by the time they get out of turn 1. Not too shabby.
Yeah, Philip Scott on fresh tires and on a mission with that Carl Edwards throwback scheme. We'll continue to keep you updated on Tristan Thuggy Maher, whether he's able to make it back out onto the racetrack, but as of right now, continues to stay on pit road. Meanwhile, one driver that we haven't seen for quite some time, right there, Jimbo Casterline was in the 3-wide TV chat. He is now returning to the mix here at Darlington, ready for some more action in the gauntlet. Might just be able to run down Adam Dama, Jason Gracias. Not sure if he'll be able to run down Tristan Thuggy Maher, but only time will tell, as we got a good battle here starting to brew. Philip Scott's been run down by Fred Lester, and Andre, you have to go back to that moment where the number 99 of Philip Scott got a little bit overzealous. He tried to make a pass on the high side through turn number 1 and 2. That doesn't often work. He pounded the wall coming out of turn 2 and now has a lot of right front damage. We think that is going to hurt him here as Fred Lester behind him has a very clean race truck looking for his first win of the season here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series.
Well, it definitely could. We saw how far off pace he was before he was able to get any of that fixed up. And now he seems to be on a pretty decent pace, but that 48 is not letting him get away. I don't think that 99 is in top form. I think he's definitely got a little bit of an aero issue holding him back, and that's going to play right into the hands of the 48 and the 64. Valvano there in third. He's not too far back. Jeff Price in fourth. Everybody pretty bunched up right now. But you see, the corners are where it's really hurting that 99, Peter. That 48 closes in so much in the corners, especially 3 and 4, where it's a little bit tighter, a little bit slower of a corner. It seems like the 99's aero damage is not letting him turn quite as freely. It's a little bit tighter. We'll have to go on board, check out how the gap fluctuates. Onto the back straightaway, it's going to be about 3-4 truck lengths. But coming through 3 and 4, you're going to see this closes up quite a bit. Valvano is actually going to sneak by on the bottom. He's going to close into the leader. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, Fred Lester just did not get a good run out of turn number 2. And Valvano must have just got an awesome run out of turn number 2. Just absolutely powered down. And, you talk about talking giants here. He's trying to be a giant here at the track that's too tough to tame. As, Fred Lester having a little wiggle there in the number 48 machine right back behind him. Then the back channel productions machine of Jeff Price running in fourth. And then in fifth is Justin White. Justin White did come back down pit road. We think he just came down pit road to maybe take on fuel and maybe repair a little bit of damage. He's going to make that pass and move up to the fourth position. I don't think Justin White took on tires when he was on pit road. Remember, he was the lucky dog under this last caution. But he did come down, had a 25 to about 26 second pit stop for the Grinds Coffee Pouches machine. And that is indicative of getting some damage repaired. Not sure what damage he had on the truck, but got it repaired. Can't hurt, and he's back in the mix for these final 63 laps. And Andre, we're just past the halfway mark, and it feels like it has been an absolute slugfest here at Darlington. But that's what this racetrack brings to the calendar.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter if you have a small field, big field. The track is always going to be a challenge, and that's exactly what we've seen so far tonight. The number 2, coming down pit road that early, he's very fortunate that he was really the only car that came down that early and that he was in lucky dog position, because if that caution had come out and the leader had gotten to lap traffic, well, he would have been trapped back there a lap down. And fortunately, that did not happen. He was able to get back on the lead lap. We know that number 2 is pretty fast, so we'll see if he can't maybe try to get around Lester Valvano, see what he can do with Philip Scott up there. But a little bit of a moment for Jeff Price getting loose on the back straightaway. That's going to make him drive down the track a ways. Right behind Doug Neal is the number 2 applying heavy pressure now to that 48. He is not going to give him any room entering the corner on the bumper, trying to figure out what's the best way around.
Yeah, and you can see right here, last time by, Justin was about 1.5 tenths faster than Fred. So those two drivers definitely, it appears that the number 2 has the pace here early in the run. We'll see if that continues throughout this particular run. But right now, that number 2 catching the wall just a little bit. And that was a 48. One of the two throwing up some sparks and some smoke for the fans to inhale. Gotta love that. But for right now, Lester's getting a run on the number 64, so I don't know, Andre. We're just going to have to keep our eyes on this. This is kind of the hornet's nest, the best battle out there on the racetrack right now between Valvano, Lester, White, Neal, and Jeff Price there at the back of the picture.
Yeah, it's a bit of a revolving door here. These guys are making passes and then giving the position right back up. They're just kind of going back and forth. Philip Scott is not driving away with it. 0.4 of a second is where it's been for a handful of laps now, and that's with these guys kind of battling each other, slowing each other down. So I got to think that damage is still holding him up a little bit, and we did see a lot of smoke flying from the 99 Before we went to this onboard with Valvano, we saw him get into the outside wall going into the corner, just trying to take a really wide arc. And I think that was a result of that aero damage, Peter. He was trying to enter the corner as high as he could so that he could sling it down to the bottom and make sure that it wasn't going to get tight. But unfortunately, he tried to enter too high, got into the outside wall, which may have worked against him because it seems like the straightaway speed is just not there. You saw the gap go from 0.44 to 0.33 on the back straightaway. A little bit of draft and a little bit of damage, I think column A, column B coming together to result in a 1/10 of a second loss. And look at this out of Justin White. He's played it patient. I think he's had the faster truck than these drivers this whole time, but he's just waiting for the right opportunity. And that's why that number 2 truck is so clean, Peter. That's why that thing doesn't have any damage compared to everybody else, because he's playing it smart. He's looking at the long game, and he's not getting overly aggressive, which is exactly what we saw bite the 17 in the behind. When he got too aggressive with Valvano, he didn't get patient enough. Realistically, coming out of turn 4 here, when he got up to Valvano, he could have let off the throttle, could have stayed behind him, and then made the pass in the next corner, or maybe even on the straightaway. But instead, he got a little bit cocky. He tried to get down on the apron, and well, that spun him out. So a lot of these drivers seeing firsthand what a little bit of overestimation as to your truck's grip level can do for you. And maybe it's calming him down a bit, because Justin White just taking the methodic approach to getting around these guys, slowly but surely, waiting for the right moment, and I like that.
You know what I just realized? Oh, nope, never mind. I'm good. I thought I might have been blowing out you guys' speakers with audio, but I realized I had something turned a certain way, so that's good. But yeah, Justin White in the number 2 machine, definitely starting to march down on Vincent Valvano. But Valvano's starting to close in just a little bit on our race leader as well. That's the good news, because we might have a battle for the race lead here brewing momentarily. As you can see, it's down to about 0.2 of a second between Philip Scott and Vincent Valvano. And how cool would it be to see Vincent Valvano get to victory lane here? Of course, Vincent Valvano, if you don't know the story behind Vinny, Vinny was a professional Madden player. And you can go out there and search for Vincent Valvano. There's a video on YouTube as he loses a position, though, here to Justin White in the Grinds Coffee Pouches Chevy Silverado. But you can go out there, YouTube Vincent Valvano, and you'll find a YouTube video and get a little bit of Vinny's backstory. And he was able to play in Madden competition. Of course, he wanted to take those competitive video gaming skills over into iRacing.com motorsports simulations. We have a battle all of a sudden breaking out for a race lead, and Justin White was battling for second a lap or two ago, and now he's battling for the race lead.
Yeah, he's going to get to the quarter panel of that 99, but he's not quite able to complete the move, so he's going to let out of the throttle, fall to that rear tailgate, and now he's going to try it again here in 1 and 2. Now, 1 and 2 is where the 99 has been fastest all night long. It seems like as far as turns 1 and 2, if I had to pick one guy to be the absolute fastest through that set of turns, it's the 99. Nobody has anything for him, and I don't think anybody's going to pass him there. Where they're going to pass him is right here. 3 and 4, you see that number 2 able to run that low line. And so far, Peter, they've gone around this track 89 times. I've not seen the 99 be able to run that low line a single time, and that's what's really hurting him right now. That's the Achilles heel to that 99. And the other thing that I'm kind of thinking about here is that Valvano's not far behind Justin White, so that kind of increases the urgency for Justin to make this move for the lead, get himself into clean air, because it's not just him battling with the 99, it's him battling with the 99 and the 64, and so he is going to send it deep into 3 and 4, and to the lead goes Justin White. So he's going to have to try and play a little bit of defense. Unfortunately for the 99, if your car has damage, you might be able to handle it all right in clean air, but dirty air and turbulent air has a way of just magnifying the effects of the damage on your truck's handling, and so he may be in for a world of hurt here trying to follow along with these guys. Valvano's still in third, and a bit of a wiggle out of the 77 opens the door up high for the 14. So the 14 maintaining his 4th place position as Doug Neal tries to regroup, get those tires cooled back down, and go at it again. But now a little bit of space being put between 1st and 2nd, 0.5 seconds, so half a second in just about a lap and a half. That number 2 is moving.
Yeah, that number 2 is moving out front for sure. Let's see. Check in on Tristan Thuggy Maher, who's back out on the racetrack, but he is 20 laps down, being scored in the 8th position. So it won't be the night that Tristan was hoping for after dominating the first half of tonight's event. Yeah, but Andre, you have to make it all 191 miles if you want to go to victory lane. Of course, Tristan has had a really good run here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. He has 3 wins to his name. Won't be adding to that tally here tonight. However, Tristan has been following Scott Crump in points. Scott did get the win back at Iowa 2 weeks ago before we had that week off break. But Scott not in the field here tonight. Scott Crump did take a provisional, so Tristan will probably close in a couple extra points, but unfortunately probably won't be as many points as... Oh, Justin White, our race leader in the wall! Andre, this racetrack, it says it's too tough to tame, and the driver who seems to be taming it the best, Justin White, might have just been bit.
And you see that sometimes, the driver who's been following everybody else, once they get out front, that's when they start making mistakes, because they've kind of been using everybody else as a rolling brake marker. You kind of follow the truck in front of you. You kind of make your movements based on what they're doing. You follow their line. Then you get out front. You lose that point of reference. You're all on your own, and you're kind of like, oh, wait a minute. How do I drive this track? You kind of forget for a minute, And I think that might be what happened to Justin White. Fortunately for him, he got into the wall going into the corner, and then as they came out of the corner, Philip Scott hit the wall. So it all evens out.
Yeah, it does all even out. That is for sure. Here's Jeff Price in the back channel Productions number 14 trying to run down Vincent Valvano. Vinny in the number 64 machine right there is starting to bleed a little bit of time. Let's see if we can bring up the graphic there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It's all in favor of Jeff Price, as Price has now cut that down to about a 1/10 of a second. That lap traffic there not helping out Vincent Valvano, as Tristan Thuggy Maher is going to try and unlap himself the hard way here in a couple of laps. He does have fresher tires than everyone around him, so do expect that to happen, but he would have to unlap himself a whopping 20 times if he wants to have any opportunity to get the win here tonight, and, well, the math is against him, put it that way. As it looks like Price got a good run out of turn number 2, going to have a look to the inside, and sure enough, move the number 14 up onto the podium. The Back Channel Productions number 14. He's been on the podium multiple times here on 3 Wide TV over the years we've broadcast the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. And for right now, looking pretty sporty. Andre, I think we have to keep our eyes on that number 14 of Price, because I think he might have been saving tires just a little bit. Now he has a big task to do to run down Philip Scott and Justin White.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been conserving. That is a good point. And this is one of the few tracks on iRacing where a little bit of conservation will actually go a very far way. It's a very realistic track on the sim in that sense. You did talk about the math not being in the favor of Tristan Maher, and I just want to kind of really expand on that a little bit. He's 22 laps down. Assuming he was to get on the lead lap through cautions, he would first have to let Jason Shue get 2 lucky dogs as Doug Neal is on pit road, and then he would need 20 more cautions, now 19 more cautions, to get his laps back. That means he would need a caution just about every 2 laps. Smacks the outside wall. He would need a caution just about every 2 laps, but because cautions take more than 2 laps, well, it is mathematically impossible for him to really get back on the lead lap, barring everybody else just exploding at the same time and falling out of their car. But the number 2, I'm surprised to see him getting into the outside wall as often as he is here, Peter, because he's been so patient all night long. He's been playing it really conservative, and now he's got the lead. He doesn't really have a whole lot to worry about, and now it seems like he starts to overdrive a little bit, getting a little bit loose there out of the corner. He's starting to struggle. It could be a little bit of excess tire wear, or I don't know, but he's got to watch out here.
Yeah, I'm starting to think, Andre, that no one wants to win this race here tonight, as that wall has been a struggle for a good majority of the field now. In fact, I don't know if we have any clean race trucks left. Justin's looks pretty good. As he gets loose coming out of turn number 4. I think Fred Lester's truck looks pretty clean. Yeah, a little bit of right side damage. You see that in the tailgate, a little bit of right front damage. So not a clean race car. Vincent Valvano's number 64. You see a little bit of right side damage. Not a clean race truck. The number 14 looks pretty clean. Let's get a zoomed in look there as he races down the backstretch. Yeah, no, definitely right side damage. Not a clean race truck. We know Phillips had his troubles here tonight. So, yeah, I think we're down to 0 clean race trucks. Yep, Jason Shue, I thought he was about to add to his damage tally there as he's been having a couple of struggles in his Chevy Silverado. But, yeah, we don't have a clean race truck left. And tell you what, looking a little bit like a demo derby out there here at Darlington as Jeff Price up there at the top of your picture is starting to reel in Philip Scott here as we expect to see these leaders on pit road shortly.
Yeah, I would imagine they're going to be coming down pit road pretty quickly. They're going to have to be cautious, I would say, on multiple fronts. They got to be cautious getting down onto pit road because it is a pretty jarring transition getting from the banking down to the flat. And, of course, it is a very tight turn. Pit road wall kind of extends into the corner itself here. So it's a tough entry. Maybe not the toughest on the entire circuit, but definitely up there. And then once they get out of pit road, they got to be careful with them cold tires, Peter. That is exactly what got the 17. He got out on the track, he had those cold tires, and he tried to make that very aggressive move with said cold tires, and they just weren't having it, and round he went. So got to make sure you take it easy for a few laps once you get back out on track. Make sure those tires get up to temp. And meanwhile, as we were riding on board with Jeff Price there, it seems like Philip Scott has given up his dreams of being a race truck driver and instead decided to be a smoke show operator, throwing up some sparks and some smoke there.
No, he's also decided to be on pit lane as he hits the pit road speed mark. Those couple of cones there really in turn number 4. We mentioned this is such a difficult pit road to get onto because you have to go all the way down to the bottom side of the racetrack. It is so wide in the corners. The racing groove is narrow, but the racetrack is extremely wide with how much is paved. So we got Philip Scott and Vincent Valvano both making their way to their iRacing.com pit crew. That leaves Justin White out there, the number 14 of Jeff Price as well. Fred Lester still pacing around. And, of course, we did highlight that Doug Neal did pit now about 10 laps ago. So we expect to see the 77 of Doug Neal pole vault his way probably to the race lead, at least momentarily, until everything sorts itself out and the drivers who are pitting now have time to run him down because tires have a pretty significant effect. Justin White coming down as your race leader. Andre, it didn't seem like Justin White had much of an impact on his pace, rather, when he did hit that wall, because he was actually still pulling away from the number 99 of Philip Scott. So we'll see if anything changes there, but I think Justin White got pretty lucky with that contact with the wall.
Well, and I think it goes back sort of to the accumulative damage. The number 2 did get into the wall pretty good a few times, but that's really the first time tonight that he's kind of started to make those mistakes and he started to get into the outside wall, because for the first 80 or so laps, I really didn't see him in that wall at all. So his truck was already starting pretty fresh. It could afford to take a few hits. Meanwhile, everybody else out here, they've been hitting the wall all night long. Philip Scott, I think, should maybe take the outside wall out to dinner with how much he's been hitting it, because he's been very familiar with it, and his car is obviously going to be a little bit slower from that accumulative damage. Fred Lester still in the lead, but yet to pit, so he needs to come down pit road at this point, and ahead of him you got Valvano, who did come down pit road already, I believe, but he's playing the long game here. He saw that caution come out kind of in the middle of the pit sequence before, and he's thinking, he ain't going to fool me twice.
Yeah, definitely not being fooled twice. Tristan Maher joining the chat saying we'll turn to Xbox mode for some reason. I'm guessing you have one of them fancy Fanatec wheels there, Tristan, that has some Xbox mode or something like that, or maybe you have a Thrustmaster wheel. I think they have a similar setting. It kind of jumps back and forth. But behind Fred Lester is Doug Neal, who has already made his pit stop, but is about 10 laps older tires than Justin White, Philip Scott, and company. So we'll keep our eyes on the gap from Doug Neal to Justin White. Right now it's about 10 seconds. But Doug Neal last time by ran a 30.25, and Justin White actually ran a 30.3 last time by. So maybe Doug Neal's strategy here of kind of pitting early might pay off, but only time will tell. As we're inside now, 30 laps to go. We'll see the lap counter there in the top left-hand corner of your screen turn over to 25 laps to go here shortly when we get into that threshold. Jason Shue now on pit road in the number 3 machine. Fred Lester coming down pit road finally. So Andre, that will cycle us through for the field. Doug Neal is our current race leader. Justin White about 9.5 seconds back, but still plenty of time for Justin White to run down Doug Neal with the 10-lap fresher tires.
Yeah, definitely a lot of time here. We're on lap 112 out of 140, so we're looking at about 28 laps remaining. That is more than enough. 9-second gap. He's really only got to close in by, be generous, call it about half a second a lap, and he's going to continue to do that. You can see the difference in lap times there. About 0.4, give or take, on lap 110. Lap 111 was 0.32, and there's the big difference right there. Tires are warm, Peter. Tires are now warm, and that is a 0.7 of a second advantage to Justin White. He's going to be there in no time.
Yeah, that is a hefty chunk of time, especially on this type of racetrack where you're running 30 seconds a lap or so, give or take. We'll see what it is this time for Doug Neal to Justin White. About 0.4 of a second. That's enough, Andre, for sure, for Justin White to run down his teammate in the number 77 machine. And who knows whether or not the number 77 is doing all he can to stay out front. The big question would be, Andre, is if another caution came out. Just thinking about how many sets of tires these drivers have taken here tonight, I think everyone has taken their 3 sets of tires. So they do have 3 sets of tires on the wall here in the National Sim Racing Association. So limited tires do mean that throws in a little bit of strategy into the mix. And it looks like, I don't think anyone would have not taken tires in one of their pit stops here tonight. And everyone's taken 3 or more pit stops that are out there on the racetrack right now. So 25 laps to go here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series Darlington Throwback 199. Let's take a look at the throwback schemes one more time here tonight. We've got the Carl Edwards throwback scheme right here, run by Philip Scott. Big fan of Carl Edwards, of course, who did the backflip when he won the race. Ninja Phil, we call him, because he participates in World Ninja League and, of course, American Ninja Warrior as well. If you've watched the show, well, you've probably seen Philip Scott, at least if you watch it over and over again. I think Philip's been featured twice on American Ninja Warrior on NBC. So, who knows, maybe if you're watching a rerun or you're at the bar one evening or during the day, day drinking's a thing, and American Ninja Warrior is on, well, keep your eyes on it. You might see this man right here, Ninja Phil, as he works his way through turns number 1 and 2. Of course, the other throwback scheme that we had here tonight was just behind him, as you quite rightly pointed out, Andrea, Dale Earnhardt Jr. throwback scheme to 2007, was it?
Yeah, it was the 2007 Pepsi 400, back when Daytona still had the 4th of July race, which I'm honestly salty that they don't.
Isn't it a travesty? God.
That is a hill that I will absolutely die on. Daytona should have the 4th of July race, but a great throwback.
Yeah, great throwback and a very patriotic scheme as well. And I might be cracking myself open a Budweiser after the race, although I don't actually have Budweiser. I have other things. I have Shiner. That's what you drink down here in the great state of Texas. But right now up front it is still Doug Neal holding on to about a 5-second lead. But if you're watching that number there between Neal and White, it's coming down. It's continuing to come down. You see over the last 5 laps. Well, now, Andre, we're talking about 7/10 of a second per lap in that realm, at least over the last 2 laps, as Neil flirts with the outside wall through turn number 3 and 4. We'll see what happens again, but it's under 5 seconds for sure, as the live ticker on the left-hand side of your screen says so. And there you go, about 0.6 of a second. Plenty of time. Andre, if you're Justin White, you just got to keep it clean. Minimize those mistakes, and you're in with a shot of winning here at Darlington.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we're definitely in for a battle. I know some people might be looking at this timing and scoring, and they're thinking, yeah, I mean, Justin White's going to get to him. He's going to blow by him. That's going to be all she wrote. But I don't see that happening. You got to remember, Justin White, the whole time he's running him down, he's wearing out his own tires. And there's going to reach a point where the tire wear is going to even out between the two, despite the fact that Justin White's tires are relatively new. You hit kind of a tire wear plateau where they don't degrade any further. Doug Neal hit that point a long time ago. Justin White has yet to hit that point. And so by the time he gets to Doug Neal, the tire wear should be pretty close between them, and it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a bit of a game of wits, trying to play some defense on the behalf of Doug Neal and just waiting for the right moment on the behalf of Justin White. It's not going to be a said and done deal, that's for sure. I don't think Darlington ever is a black and white racetrack where something is just guaranteed. It's always a track where you got to fight for what you got, and that much is certain. Philip Scott certainly at the moment running pretty solid, but Jeff Price, well, he's a little bit better. He's about a 10th or so quicker per lap, according to our little lap time ticker there at the bottom. Now I'm seeing, I believe that is the 48 who did pit. He's on fresher tires, trying to pressure him, but that is not for position, I don't think. He is a lap down, so just trying to work his way around the 99, and I don't know, man. I think that damage was really, really a significant factor in the way that the 99's night has gone, Peter. I mean, that truck was so fast at the start of the night, but once he got a few good hits in, it just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, that number 99 has really struggled since impacting that turn 2 wall. Remember, he was battling with the number 77 of Doug Neal, who's currently our race leader. When that contact happened, he was fast. He was so fast, he tried to make a move around the outside, and I think most people know that's unfortunately not going to work here at the Darlington Raceway, as Fred Lester tries to be a little bit of a nuisance here. Lester pitted on lap number 111, so slightly fresher tires for the number 48, but he's going to actually just let these leaders on by. Good clean move there by Fred Lester. Good heads-up racing, as this is the best battle for position for right now. Justin White has yet to fully run down Doug Neal, but it is inside 1.5 seconds. We'll keep our eyes on that while we keep our eyes on this right here on your screen. 3rd and 4th as they run right now. 15 laps to go at the 1.3 mile super speedway. Most people call it a speedway these days. It's not quite Daytona, it's not quite Talladega, but back in the day, this was the first racetrack to be dubbed a super speedway. As Andre, that number 14 machine, is getting a really good run down the backstretch. Here as we're at 15, make it 14 laps to go this time by.
And that is for position, so the 14 on the exact same lap as the 99. I'm going to postulate that something may have happened up front. The 77, there was a point where I was watching the timing and scoring, and he lost 0.6 in the blink of an eye. I mean, it was just gone. It wasn't like Justin White had reeled him in a little bit over the course of a lap. I mean, that time just went. And there it is. You see it, lap 124, 0.8 of a second he lost right there, and that carried over into lap 125 as well. I think he got into the outside wall when we weren't looking at him, and I think he may have picked up some damage because he is now kind of dropping off in lap times. Justin White only 0.6 of a second back now, but I think that tire wear plateau may be kicking in. That may be the saving grace here for Doug Neal, despite all that, because the difference now only about 0.2 faster for Justin White. But this battle here, something must have happened here, because Jeff Price was on the 99, and now he's a little bit further back, and judging by that right side body panel, I think, that might tell it all right there, getting a little bit loose out of the corner.
Yeah, we just can't seem to get the camera on the right thing right now. We look away from one battle and something happens. We turn to the other battle and something happens. But let's keep our eyes now on the battle for the race lead, because that battle between Scott and Price looks like it's going to go in favor of the number 99, but still time for Jeff Price to run him back down. Here as we're down to 12 laps, make this 11 laps to go as the 77 goes across the stripe down to just 0.2 of a second. Andre, you have to think that maybe, just maybe, Doug Neal with that early pit call might have made the best call here, because, you know, even if he loses the spot to Justin White, which he might not. I mean, it could be pretty tricky to pass here at Darlington. He might be able to hold him off for the race lead, but then he's still got a pretty big gap back to Philip Scott in the number 99. As here comes Justin White, just powering down, makes it look easy. New race leader, Justin White. Andre, I was saying it's difficult to pass here at Darlington. Justin White just proved me wrong.
Yeah, Doug Neal, I think, could have made that difficult, if he wanted to. I think he definitely could have kept the two at bay a little bit longer, but Doug, he's a smart driver, and I think he kind of knew, all right, he's got fresher tires, and he's my teammate, so I'm not going to put up too much of a fight here. We're going to try and just, do what I can, and when he gets up alongside me, I'm going to lift, and that's exactly what he did. Then he got into the outside wall a little bit there. I think that might have just been a product of being in dirty air for the first time in quite some time. He didn't expect that truck to get as tight as it did. And I know some viewers at home might be thinking, dirty air, one truck got in front of him, and now he's way up the road. But you know as well as I do, Peter, when there is a truck in front of you, it doesn't matter if there are 7, 8 tenths ahead of you, and it can only be one truck at times. It completely changes the way your vehicle feels. Stock cars are very sensitive to that on iRacing. And man, oh man, that 77, real tail happy coming out of the corner. That's the third time now since we've been focusing on him that rear end wants to slide out, and he just gets angled down towards the apron. He's had to make a bit of a save. Take a look at a 3-wide TV replay. What exactly happened here? Jeff Price into the outside wall pretty significantly, and that's where he lost a lot of time. Currently sitting about a second back from Philip Scott, actually in excess of a second. Look at this gaggle of cars, though. Philip Scott for second place. He's caught Doug Neal, and now he's going to try to make this move. He's got the 48 on fresher tires, but one lap down, right behind him. Put Ninja Phil up into P2. He's 4.3 seconds back from the leader. I don't think he's got quite enough time to reel him in, barring a caution, but what a solid comeback for that 99.
Yeah, that number 99 has stuck with it all night long, and going to come away with a strong, solid top 2 finish, it looks like. Meanwhile, the 77 of Doug Neal, Andre, since he got into the outside wall, probably with that dirty air, just like you mentioned, it takes the downforce off the front of the race car and it pushes it up into the outside wall. He got into the wall, that hurt the car, gave him a little bit of aerodynamic damage. That means the car won't turn as well. Gets up into the outside wall, hits the wall again, and the cycle continues. So Doug Neal has gone from the race lead now down to 4th as Jeff Price gets onto the podium here with 5 laps to go. It has been a rough and tumble last 6 to 7 laps for the number 77 as he slides back into 4th. Good news for Doug Neal is he has 12 seconds back to Vincent Valvano, who currently rounds out our top 5. But for Justin White up at the front of the field, well, we're just talking about 5 laps to go, and the number 2 has a 5-second advantage, and make that now 4 laps to go. Andre, this number 2 is clean sailing here at Darlington.
Yeah, he has absolutely no pressure. That 99 is 5.5 seconds back, and he's just falling further back as the race goes on. So the 2 knows he's got the pace, and it's going to take nothing short of a miracle for anybody to catch him. All he's got to do is hope that a caution doesn't come out. And given the fact that the field is pretty small tonight and not a lot of trucks, and we've had some attrition as well to further cut off the grid, caution not looking super likely either. He's just got to play it smart as he's been doing all night long. Hit your marks. Make sure you don't overdrive. Don't get into that outside wall and beat something up so bad you can't limp it back to the line. just make sure you're making good, clean laps, and that's all you got to do. And that's the kind of race that you hope for. You know, the kind of race that you've put yourself in such a good position, you've played it so well all night long that you afford yourself the ability to cruise to this win, assuming that he can here, as we go on board with Philip Scott, I believe, looking back towards Price, and a little bit of a scuff to the outside wall, but I mean, that's nothing we haven't seen so far tonight, that's for sure. 2 to go, more like 1.5, I should say, for Justin White to try and claim a victory. Now, Peter, would that be his first win of the year?
It would be Justin White's first win of the year, and I have to really think back to the last win for Justin White here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. I think he finished third in points last year, but without a win to his name. I do remember that. Just kind of quickly going back through, did get a win back in 2021, and is going to come out of the final corner. First win since 2021 at Talladega for Justin White in the Grinds Coffee Pouches Chevy Silverado over Philip Scott, who comes across the line in second. Jeff Price going to come across the line in third. Doug Neal fourth, and Vincent Valvano will come home fifth. Fred Lester already across the line sixth. Jason Shue seventh. Tristan Thuggy Maher in eighth. And only 8 drivers to finish here tonight. But for this driver here, the Darlington Throwback win, it's always a special one to win here at Darlington, Andre.
Oh, yeah. When you win at Darlington, no matter how you win it, you absolutely earned it. This is not a track that hands away wins just for showing up. You've got to fight for it. You got to know what you're doing. And Justin White, I mean, he just played it so smart all night long. He was patient. You know, we saw when he got up into third and he had a couple cars to pass for the lead, he didn't just lay the hammer down and move him out of the way or put himself in an uncomfortable situation. He just rode behind him. He waited for them to make the mistake, to open the door for him, let them do the work. And once that happened, he made the pass. He got his way up to the lead and definitely kind of capitalized on the misfortune of Maher and a few other drivers. And ultimately, that number 2 was the one to take the checkered flag because of it. Now he's going to do, it's not a Polish victory lap because he's going the right way around the track, but he is going backwards the right way. So a reverse Polish victory lap?
I don't know. I think I see a kilt in his picture there. From, playing some, I guess, Highland games of sorts. Is this the Scottish victory lap? I mean, can we coin that term?
I mean, it's something.
It's something. I'll tell you what, Justin, it's going to take you a minute to go around the racetrack backwards. In fact, let's see if we can jump on board and bring up our, kind of speed graphic here. He's
35,
he's doing a solid 35, Andre, in the school zone.
It's a pretty tall reverse gear, honestly. I mean, most street cars aren't going 35 in reverse.
Oh, that's for dang sure. But here we go, coming at you here on 3Y TV. Justin White and his reverse victory lap. At least Justin White style. Very, very, very kind of solemn and somber. No burnouts, nothing. Just kind of solitary by himself, going around the racetrack, going off into turn number 3 and 4. And got to wait for for him to come into shot. Usually you're in shot in about a second here, but. I mean, for all I know... Okay, there he is. Phew. I was about to say, for all I know, he could have turned around and started going the right way. I don't know. Here he goes. I think he hit 40 there for a second, Andre. He's booking it.
Yeah, he was rolling down the banking a little bit. That gave him a bit of a boost there. So, almost 40 in reverse. I know it doesn't look like much on the sim, but it'd be kind of terrifying to be in reverse at 40 miles an hour in real life. That would not be a comfortable situation to be in, but he's going to do it. There's the Geico restart zone. And now in just a moment, from the perspective of Barney himself, there it is. That's a full lap in reverse. Bravo. Not too shabby.
Is that the world's biggest donut? Is that what he just did? I don't know. We'll have to sort it all out in the post race interviews for everyone, and see exactly what was going through his head. But let's see if we can go down to tonight's third place finisher, driver of the number 14 machine of Jeff Price. Bring him up here into the 3 wide TV booth. Jeff Price, Peter Short, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. What's happening?
Well, third place. You sound pretty stoked for finishing on the podium here tonight, Jeff. It was not an easy race. As we saw out there, a lot of these drivers had some type of a struggle. But you and that number 14 machine kept it pretty clean and coming home with a podium. Talk us through it.
Man, that thing, it was a devil. Like, no matter what I did, I just couldn't get nothing to work with it. You know, toward that last run, I kind of figured out what I was doing wrong, and I was able to speed up, and I was able to get past Doug and got close to Phillip. Lap car kind of messed me up a little bit there. It's really is what it is. I don't think I was going to be able to pass Phillip getting up next to him anyway. So it was nice just to, 2 podiums in a row after the seasons I've had in the last probably 6 months with the PC issues. It kind of sucks that it was a short field, but racing's racing, podium's a podium, and any kind of momentum helps a lot. So the back channel productions Chevy was not necessarily on rails, but it was better than I was tonight.
Well, definitely was an interesting race, and we saw that right from the get-go when the number 77 of Doug Neal almost lost control coming out of turn number 2. I mean, it looked like a really tricky truck to drive. Loose on cold tires, and then it looked tight as the run goes on. Kind of tell us how your truck drove tonight.
Well, it was kind of weird. I kind of liked mine on the short run, but I wasn't fast by no means for the first 15 laps of a run. So that's probably, I just wasn't able to get all out of the truck as I could. So later in the run, I was able to it started snugging up a little bit, but then it would just get a little bit tricky later on, because about lap 20 into the run, it'll settle real nice, and then when you start getting closer to the wall or a little bit too low, coming out of 2, it just wants to snap around on you a little bit. It felt it's probably one of the best handling trucks I've ever had in 3 and 4, but 1 and 2, it was just one lap after another. It was just different each time, so it kind of threw a wrench in it, and it made it fun to drive. I'm just ready to not be here for a while. Third league race this week that was here, so I'm a little burnout on it, but the lady in black, she took some stripes off this truck, so we need to get it fixed for the next race.
Well, she didn't take off enough stripes off the truck, because you coming home third here tonight, a strong showing. And of course, next week we move on to the great racetrack, one of my favorite racetracks on iRacing, North Wilkesboro. We go back to the short tracks. What are your thoughts? Yeah. It's been a long race. What are your thoughts about North Wilkes?
Well, my goal is to survive. Really, is what it is. I've never been really great at that track, and it's nothing against the track. It's just I'm not really a flat track racer. I'm not very good at those kind of tracks. So I've gotten better steadily, but I'm hoping I can just, bring home another top 10, keep the momentum going, and go on into the next race after that. I'm looking forward to just getting to a point where I can start just looking ahead and not worrying about it as much. Charlotte, I'm pretty decent at Charlotte, so that's going to look good for me. Gateway, that's where I got my first league race win in this series. Nashville, I sucked there, and Watkins Glen, I'm getting better. So, we're pretty decent run into the playoffs. I'm hoping I can stay in the top 12, and, after a couple of years of not making the playoffs, I'm doing what I can to stay in the hunt.
Well, you definitely did a good job here tonight. Before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give out, Jeff?
Absolutely. Back Channel Productions, that guy, it's been a rough year, and rough couple years, actually, but, he's constantly sticking with me. He's not even thinking about if I'm having a bad race, he's not upset about it. He's just like, as long as we're out there having fun and getting his name out there, it's all they really want. So thank you to Nick Davis over there for supporting me constantly. He's really a great guy, really great channel if you like monster trucks and tough trucks, stuff like that. They do some tribute videos and stuff. Check them out on YouTube and Facebook. Sarita and Sons Demolition in Fayetteville, Arkansas. If you're around there, hit them up. They go to disaster reliefs and stuff, so they're really a great guy and good friend of mine. Y'all for broadcasting. Stay tuned Sports for the constant supporting this series. This guy's amazing. This podcast is amazing. So hopefully we can put on some good shows the rest of the season for him. He's working really hard on that podcast, so I think he deserves to get some more listeners. So if everybody wants to go check him out, check him out.
All right, good to hear, Jeff. I always love to hear when drivers give a good plug to their sponsors and all the friends that we meet along the way here in sim racing. But best of luck. We'll see you again soon, and good luck next week at North Wilkesboro.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Hope to talk to you again there.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's third place finisher. And now I believe we can go down to the runner-up here tonight, driver of the number 99 with Dad to Carl Edwards throwback scheme, Philip Scott there, Andre.
Ninja Phil, you got a copy?
Yep.
Well, very up and down night. We saw you battling for the lead at one point, then we saw you get into the wall. You kind of accrued some damage throughout the course of the race, and it seemed like it was kind of holding your truck back. And we were kind of counting you out. We're like, yeah, that truck's pretty beat up. I don't think he's got anything for him. And then all of a sudden, you're back up in second, and you salvaged a really good finish out of it.
Yeah, my car was broken from near the very beginning. I kind of just had normal Darlington stripes at the beginning of the race. Got those fixed. And then when I was battling for, I think, third or something, later on after the stage with the 77, we were both going for the same real estate. He lost a lot of momentum in turn one, and so I'm just like, I'll take the high side. I wasn't sure if he was letting me by or not, because he had some sort of moment. And so then I just tried to take it around, but then I saw that he was still there, and he didn't really go up into my lane, but just the way turn two is, it just kind of caught me off guard, and so I tried to keep it off the wall, but then I just smacked it. My wheel was crooked the rest of the race. So yeah, I will definitely take it. Once that yellow came out, I could have pit, but I'm just like track position's probably better. So I was able, and I was like, Justin's still really fast and has a clean car, so I knew that he'd get to me. It was only a matter of time, so I was just trying to bide my time and hope that he'd burn his tires up a little bit. But yeah.
So the word on the street is that we're going to be going to North Wilkesboro pretty soon. So we're going from the high banks and fast action of Darlington to a little bit of a slower, flat, short track. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I haven't raced at North Wilkesboro in a long time. It's probably like TNR of several seasons ago. So it'll be interesting to see how I fare there. I'll have to practice. But I never think of myself as a short track guy, but I usually once I get into the groove, I feel pretty comfortable at places like that. So I think I have possibly a good shot, and I know that this league has a lot of long runs usually, so I could see that happening again, especially if the track's hot. So
definitely could be the case. Well, again, congratulations on salvaging a really good finish. I don't know how you wind up second when you got a steering wheel that you got to hold at a 40-degree angle, but you managed it. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out for your finish?
Yeah, it was a few degrees. I don't think it was quite 40, but it was. I think I bumped the wall a couple times because it was throwing me off. Anyway, yeah, of course, my throwback this week. I saw that it was throwback week, and so I rushed together. Okay, perfect low effort paint scheme. I'll do Carl's rookie truck, and so obviously very fitting. So shout out to Carl Edwards for being my favorite driver when I was a kid. And then my usual sponsor, World Ninja League. Check us out, worldninjaleague.org. And shout out to TNR, because I'm one race away from potentially winning the championship that's coming down the last race. So be sure to watch that too.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Phil, and congratulations on second.
Definitely. Thank you.
And that is going to be second place out of the booth. And I think that was enough time for Peter to make the mad dash from the booth down to victory lane. I believe he's caught up with Justin White.
Well, the driver who drove around the racetrack backwards, the number 2 machine of Justin White. I could almost keep up with that 35 miles an hour. I'm almost Michael Scott. Not really. But Justin, congratulations on getting the dub here tonight. What a wild night it was. And of course, you haven't been here on the racetrack for a few weeks. It's been really busy, but victory lane, bud. Must be sweet.
Yeah, it helps, especially after the hard week I've had. Work's just been absolutely just weighing you down, the rat race as they call it. But I just jumped on and said, if I do well, I do well. If I don't, I don't. Darlington's one of my favorite tracks, so I like running here. Even if I'm in the back 40 laps down, it's still fun to race here. It's an old track, well, the track itself was old. The surface is relatively, 10 years older, whatever. So, but it wears tires out. It's technical. You have to be smooth, and you have to be methodical on where you pass and where you're back to the gas. You got to save your tires a lot. This place will eat them up quickly.
Well, we were a little bit concerned there for a while that no one wanted to go to victory lane here tonight. You were out front, had some scuffles with the outside wall. Kind of talk us through how the number 2 was driving here tonight and how tricky it was to work your way around this 1.3 mile racetrack.
Yeah, after about 20 laps, it gets really, really tight. Like with this fixed setup, it just gets tight off of the corner. So you've got to be really methodical when you apply the gas. Off of 4 is where the big trouble turn is. Like, with that tight radius of a turn, if you get to the throttle too quickly instead of letting it roll, you're going to end up eating the wall, or the lady in black's going to end up eating the outside of the right side of your car, or truck, or whatever you're driving. So you just got to be patient, methodical, and just kind of float it in, as my spotter said today. Float it in, float it out.
Well, you definitely did a good job of that. Once you got out front there late, you never really looked back. You ran down your teammate there, Doug Neal, for the win with that pass around 10 laps ago. But, how good does it feel? Let the people know at home how good it feels to have the fastest race truck out there and know that you're just pulling away out front.
Oh, it's amazing when you're catching the guy and you're catching him, sack it to second half a lap, and then when you get around him and nobody is challenging you, you don't start worrying about, oh, am I going to overdrive this corner? If I overdrive that corner, you can make a slight mistake and still be able to gather it back up and keep going and still run the fastest time. It's smooth sailing at that point, worry free.
Well, you definitely did a great job here tonight, Justin. Next week, we go to North Wilkes, a short track, and definitely keeps the old racetrack flair going.
Yeah, we're going to run the trucks there about the same time they run them in real life, so it definitely will be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens in real life, because I've always loved North Wilkesboro, so we're going to try to emulate what they do next week in our league here, this upcoming week, and we'll see what happens. I'm hoping we get at least 15, 20 guys out there. Any more on a short track can end up being a hair for an admin, a hair pulling event. But to this week, like I said, it's going to be fun. I love North Wilkesboro. It's one of those, again, technical tracks. You got to be patient and methodical when you get back to the gas, because the tires will wear out quick.
That they will. Definitely going to be a fun one, both watching the real trucks out there and, of course, the pixel trucks here on 3YT.
Yes.
Before I let you go, Justin, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout-out to Doug and Tom tonight, since they were here. I appreciate those guys being in the chat with me, listening to me gripe and complain as I do to them when they gripe and complain. Appreciate you guys putting on the broadcast. Appreciate all the league members who come out. I know Friday nights, post-COVID, most everybody's not really wanting to get behind the wheel in front of a screen anymore. They want to be out in the world experiencing it, because you never know when the next pandemic will show up. So Appreciate the guys that come out each and every week. Appreciate Nate, our other teammate who's here randomly from time to time. Robbie, who's here from time to time. Appreciate Grinds being on the truck. They help me kick my chewing tobacco habit. Getgrinds.com. They will hook you up and get you off tobacco and get you hopefully away from that stuff where you end up having mouth cancer. We got one of our teammates who's went through that, so it's not fun, and something you can prevent if you actually give it a go, and Get Grinds will help you get started down that road.
Yeah, definitely a noble cause to be involved with, and get off the tobacco, get some grinds. Justin, congratulations again, the win. That's the first win since 2021 back at Talladega for you. Great to be back in victory lane, I'm sure, and hopefully we'll see you again here soon, buddy.
Yes, sir. Oh, and one more shout out. Shout out to Jimbo and Stay Tuned Sports and his podcast. We appreciate him coming on board and being the title sponsor and chipping in so much for the league. Appreciate him and all that he does.
Absolutely. We appreciate Jimbo, but Jimbo, we also appreciate Alicia here in the chat on 3 Wide TV. Best of luck next week, Justin.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews. Andre, let's bring up the final race results.
Oh, man, I don't know how we'll ever get through all these drivers. This is going to take a while. Justin White in the lead. He's going to take the first win of the year for that number 2. Philip Scott, a little bit of a bent turnbuckle or something wrong with that truck, but he still somehow rockets that thing up into second place. Jeff Bryce in third place in the number 14. Doug Neal starts on the pole, finishes inside the top 5. Not a bad night for him and his team as a whole. Vinny Valvano, funnest name to say in the league, finishes 5th. Fred Lester, P6. Jason Shue is going to be P7 in that Dale Jr. Throwback. Tristan Maher, after a wheel disconnect and just a myriad of issues, unfortunately, the fastest truck on the track is going to finish 8th place. Jimbo Casterline comes back out on track after some early trouble to claim a couple points. So he's going to finish P9, Adam Dama P10, and Jason Gracias, 109 laps back. We're not going to forget him, P11.
Yeah, definitely not the night that a couple of those drivers were hoping for here on 3 Wide TV, but nonetheless, it was a great race for everyone here, myself, Andre, and everyone here at 3 Wide TV. We want to, give a big shout out to Stay Tuned Sports, Jimbo, and everyone that makes this series doable. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Great racing. We saw great racing out there again here tonight. It was a small field, but some cool side-by-side action, some hard battling, and it kind of went all the way down to the final 10 laps, as it often does here in the National Sim Racing Association. But for all of us, folks, stay safe and all that good stuff, and we shall see ya